right. Give me a check on that mic, Joey.
Check.
Make
Microphone.
sure you're on. All right. How's it going,
Check.
everybody? This is I don't even know what this is, to be honest with you. I just wanted to start recording. Been talking about doing podcasts, so now is a good opportunity to get it started. Obviously there's a bunch of stuff going on, but I have my man Joey Rats with me.
Yo.
So we wanted to at least make a podcast that's somewhat meaningful, right? Sometimes good content. So some of the stuff that's happened as of recently that I personally didn't even know is Joey's had some issues. Well, I know he's had some issues. I mean, we both know that.
Different podcast, man.
Yeah, it's a whole different podcast for a whole different listenership. But in this particular instance is when I actually got back from Arizona, because I've been gone for about 5 years, Joey had been struggling with some substance abuse. And substance abuse that honestly I didn't know about, a little bit of stuff that I felt guilty about, but that's probably just the selfishness in me that automatically goes to the guiltiness, like, oh, what did I do wrong? Like, he's my kid.
Yeah, man.
But either way, you know what I mean? It's still something that's cool to talk about, something that shouldn't be ignored, right? And it's fun to explore this type of shit just because, and maybe it's a little bit of selfishness of me and my curiosity, but I want to know, you know, how it even happened, how it started. Did your friendships even play a part in that? If they did, how so? You know what I mean? I have to ask these kind of things because sometimes I want to know for myself. You know what I mean? Did we do something wrong as friends or not reach out and shit like that? But then sometimes it's not just even that. You know what I mean? And that's just me being big-headed in my head. You know what I mean? Joey has something going on, and that's what this is about. So I'm glad to have Joey in. Joey, introduce yourself.
Good to be here, man. My name is Joey, and I've known this dude since I was 17, and like you said, just a lot of people they don't know. I mean, because when you're in the throes of your addiction and you're using, you just you think, you know, you're living your normal life, but it's such a isolated life where, you know, after, you know, you come out of it, people are like, I didn't even know. And then at first, your first reaction is like, what do you mean you didn't know, man? And they're like, of course, like a lot of it, like you said, guilt for him. A lot of it was guilt for me. Like, I didn't even want to be around my friends, my own family kind of thing. So, of course, how are they supposed to know? And then it's not, like you said, it's not like a, you know, oh, what'd you do wrong? It was like me. Like, I was more of ashamed and guilty. I didn't want to, like, you know, it's, even though you're doing it, you know it's bad, and you're ashamed that you're actually doing it. You are kind of letting down your friends and family. So that's why people don't know. That, in my case anyway, I know it's a lot of cases with other people that I've.
Yeah.
So, you know, of course they're not going to know. I'm keeping it from you. Really, you know.
But, I mean, we kind of had this conversation a little bit ago, about a couple days ago, which is, where did it start? You know what I mean? And, again, I guess it starts differently for everybody. But the first time you and me interacted back in high school and stuff, we were wilding out. You know what I mean? We were drinking, right? We were doing Molly. Well, what the kids call Molly nowadays. We were doing just pure ecstasy and capsules during school. You know what I mean?
Oh, hell yeah.
So we were wilding out, but you think that was the stem of it, or do you really think, like, on some psychology shit, this is stemming back from some childhood stuff?
It's the perfect storm of both, actually. Like, perfect storm of both. Like what you just said that was a, you know, throughout your life, and when you're in rehab, you kind of map out how we get here, what got me here, all that shit, and that's a big old checkpoint. Like, you know, like in Sonic or something, fucking checkpoint, like. That instance of us just doing fucking every drug we could and stuff like that, like, and just drinking like to excess, like that was definitely a checkpoint. But yeah, it started. I mean, you know, hate to sound like some sort of psychologist, but it started in childhood for sure. I mean, I was around drugs and alcohol my whole life. I mean, truth be told, both my parents were addicts, you know, and my dad sold. You know, he was selling coke and stuff.
But
so.
At the time, did you know they were addicts or think they were addicts?
No,
this was just life.
And yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's funny because a lot of people don't relate to that, because like I thought that's what grown-ups did. I thought grown-ups did coke. Like, I thought it was like, you know, grown-ups have a job, grown-ups have kids, and grown-ups do coke.
You do when you get a job, you do coke.
I swear to God, I'm like, okay, when I'm a grown-up, I'm gonna do coke. Literally, I know, like, maybe that's what planted the seed in my head. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just around. First time I ever tried, like most people try. Oh, I smoked a cigarette. Dude. I was 8, 9 years old. I was licking a bag of cocaine because I thought I saw like everybody do it. So I licked the bag and I'm like, oh,
So would you say that was like your first time doing drugs,
first
technically?
ever? Like, but I hadn't even smoked a cigarette. Like I hadn't even tried nothing. Like
Do you remember what it did to you at that moment?
Oh hell yeah, man! My whole fucking tongue, my whole tongue went numb, and then I started barfing all crazy. But you know what's funny though? There was still a little bit of coke, and I still sniffed like a little bit after I was done barfing.
Insane.
And I remember feeling
How
weird.
old were you?
8 or 9. I was like 4th grade, so 8 or 9, maybe 10.
And that shit, that just doesn't just happen. You see that.
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
You had to have known.
Yeah, you see, and like I said, my parents, cousins, whoever out, every other adult, every other teenager, like coke. It wasn't like, ooh, coke. It was just yeah. You know, your dad sells it, we do it, they do. You know, the neighbors do it. That's who you're selling to. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you see them partying. You see this kind of. It's kind of weird. Like you see coke kind of glamorous because people are partying, drinking, partying, and as soon as somebody shows up with coke or somebody busts out coke, like, oh dang, you know what I mean? It's kind of glam. It's like now I know, like when you hear historians or whatever talk about the rise of coke, like has that glamorous appeal. It sounds stupid, but even as a kid, I'm like, yeah, that's super normal. Like you said, I saw it all the time.
But I remember you talking about even your pops and them being at a certain level at that point.
Oh yeah,
where it was just parties. You know what I mean? But again, I guess
Right.
that's just was the thing at that particular time. But
Yeah.
when you're at a certain level and you have access to certain things, it's crazy how stuff just becomes normal. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It
Yeah.
really does.
Weed was just like cigarettes. My mom, she'd essentially, you know, not trying to put, but this is just what happened in my childhood, and you know, everybody can attest to it. It's like she would like hotbox. She had this brown badass Lincoln that my dad had bought her, and she would hotbox the the Lincoln with us in it. I just remember like the smell of weed was as normal as like other kids, like, you know, mom's baking. That's you know, like seriously, like joint, like she never hid the joint, she never hid the bag. It was just her medicine, I guess, you know.
And sometimes I wonder if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess obviously you don't want to introduce yourself, like your kids, to any type of drugs.
Yeah.
But I remember my dad doing that shit too. You know, a little sneak attack. But it's
Yeah.
weird though, because when they, I'm not to make a case for them being good parents in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Because we know they weren't. But in a sense, that's a good approach to go about it.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I just was like, oh, this is whatevs. I know this is not good for me.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like
We're-
dumb shit.
we're
Just
all
how
part of
you
the-
would tell a kid, like,
Yeah.
hey, doo-doo, like, you know, don't touch this
Yeah,
shit. It's
yeah.
going to burn you. That's essentially what they was while they were holding the fire, in a sense. But it is kind of interesting to
Yeah.
hear that shit. And it just becomes normal. But then again, it almost makes a case for you why you shouldn't want to do drugs, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like it maybe not to that extent. There's a balance, like, you know, show your kids that, hey man, these are drugs and it ain't that bad, and you know, but at the same time don't tell me how to weigh the grams and stuff. Like I knew how to weigh it. Like don't laugh at me knowing how to fold up the papers of coke and, you know, make 20s of coke. Like, you know, that there's
some child labor laws about that type of shit. You know what I'm
there's a
saying?
balance, like you said. You know, maybe not show them, but tell them, like, just don't make it foreign, but at the same time, don't, like you said, like don't make it a game with me, like who can fold the fastest 20s and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Insane.
Like stuff like that. Like I knew what a scale was. I knew how to use a scale. I knew what bricks looked like. I knew, you know, not only, you know, I know this is about my recovery, but like guns too. I know that's a big topic right now too. But like, dude, this is kind of going off on a tangent, but just guns were so, like, my dad, everybody in my family owned guns, whatever. I remember a few times people going into my house and everybody had a gun on them, right? This one guy came in and he didn't have a gun. I'm like, so I asked him, I'm like, hey, where's your gun? Like thinking like, asking like, where your shoes at, bro? Like, how come you don't have a gun? Like everybody else who comes
to
to
jacket.
Exactly. Everybody else who comes to this house has a gun. But like I said, it's just growing up, everybody the same, like, you know, like you said, that's probably where it all started. I just seen stuff like that every day.
But do you think that was part of the addiction? I mean, well, we both talked about how, I know you've gone through some recovery, so you got to dive a little bit deeper. You know what I mean? So do you really, really think it was some of that, or do you think it was just some other level type shit?
No, that I think more than seeing it and being around it is just, you're predisposed. Your chances get higher or lower, depending on if both your parents are addicts. People, if your parents are addicts, you have a higher chance of becoming an addict. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's like something. You know what I mean?
Is there a gene, or is that just some shit that I pulled out?
I
assume it has to go to some extent.
Sounds right. Like, I think there's, like I said, I don't have the information in front of me, but I think there is some sort of like genetics to that.
Because I've actually heard studies where, right, there was a really overweight person, for instance, right? Really overweight person, same person, eating bad stuff, pretty much ejaculating into the cup. You know what I mean? They test that shit. Yeah. Really bad genes in that bitch.
Right.
Right. So they changed this dude's lifestyle, get him healthy again, do all that stuff. How crazy is that sperm? Who dictates what sperm is healthy or not? Not me, right? I just judge it by color.
Yeah.
But they were like, no, this is so much more better sperm. So I'm like, oh shit. Then whatever you are in that moment could be the genes you fucking pass on. That's insane. I don't know if that's true. I mean,
well, shit, I don't know. But as far as sperm, maybe where you're conceived, I don't know. Because all I know is I was conceived in a jail, in a federal jail. So
insane. That I don't remember hearing about.
Yeah, at Fort Grant. I don't know if that prison still exists, but Fort Grant, my mom still makes a joke.
So
I don't know.
Damn. So was your pops in jail essentially as you were born?
No, he was already out by the time I was born. So he busted twice. So the first time was like
busted nuts.
Well, no, he busted way more than twice.
All right,
so
my bad.
That's a. We can go back to that later. No, he got busted in the 80s, and so the first time you're whatever drug offense, whatever the laws were, you get 3.5, whatever, and he did the 3.5. The second time he got busted, the story I've told you about that, he did 7, so it doubles. And the third time he would have done like 14 or however many plus whatever, you know what I mean? So, yeah, he was on it. Or it would have been his third strike, and they would have gave him like 30 years or something, you know what I mean? So he already had 2 strikes.
Do you remember, at least in high school when we were doing all this shit, 'cause we talked about it the other day, and I mean, in hindsight, we realized, like, yo, we're wilding the fuck out. Yeah. We're going through some shit. Yeah. But at that moment, did you ever think, like, oh, shit, I'm doing something wrong?
No. Not at all, man, because I thought, because you don't know you're an addict until way, or you maybe you know, but you don't admit it. I just thought drugs are fun, and, we should all have fun. That's what it was. But, yeah, going back to that should have been, I mean, obviously in therapy, it's a giant red flag. I was addicted to ecstasy. Because remember, you guys were able to, like, kind of quit and kind of, like, not do it all every day. Like, remember me? I had, like, that drive. Like, I need it every day, bro. And, like, I even moved out of my house and then went to live with my sister because I was going through, like, I was addicted. Like, I was full-blown addicted. I needed it every day. And I was telling our homie that was getting it for us, I was like, dude, just sell it to me for $7, blah, blah, blah. Like looking back, I'm like, oh, I was total addict behavior, but I didn't recognize it back. I didn't really know what addiction was. I thought addiction was, crackheads on the street. That's addiction. You know what I mean? I didn't know in high school I was addicted to ecstasy. All the signs were there.
So then we leave high school a little bit, you know what I mean? And then even then, I'd almost tapered down, I feel like, later on. But there was a moment where we switched our focus almost to booze. You know what I mean? You were the first one, essentially, to move out and have their own spot. You know what I mean? So that was the rat's nest.
That didn't help at all.
You know what I mean? And just a concoction. You could go to that house at any moment. Really, you didn't even have to be there. I could just show up, meet your brother. We could be drinking. We could be smoking out back. We could be doing shrooms, acid, whatever. At any given moment. It was by no means.
Could have been a Tuesday.
By no means a trap house or crack house by any means. But it was a friendly trap house.
Debauchery.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, debauchery is a great word. Look it up for those who don't know it. But that is a great word to explain. That's exactly what it was. At any given moment, there was just madness going the fuck down.
Yeah, it was drugs, girls, rock and roll, everything, man.
Wannabe graffiti artists.
Yeah.
We were in a band, right? We were artists.
Exactly.
Shit.
All kinds of
we were playing.
All kinds of just.
But I think that's where some of that shit got bad. I mean, shit, even for me, because I had never really been a big drinker as a kid. but just going there and we would just get 40s every night just for the fuck of it.
Every night.
For the fuck of it.
Every
people
night.
don't understand though. Like sometimes, like I guess people are like, "Oh yeah, we got trash." Like, no, dude, we got trash because like, and it sounds fucked up, but we needed to get trash.
Oh
day.
yeah.
I can't.
We couldn't sleep if we didn't get trash, kind of thing. Like
it's fucked up.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the medicating that I realized that's what it is. Self-medicating. In rehab, you learn all these terms and stuff, and self-medicating. You know, I didn't really know what that was, and I think that goes back to my parents. Like I said, maybe not being around drugs, and maybe even not even genetic, but I saw what hit me the most, and I realized it later, was how they dealt with their problems. My mom was dealing with her own shit. My dad was dealing with his own shit, and how they dealt with their problems is what stuck with me more than the actual drugs that they were using. Like, they were self-medicating. Looking back, obviously they don't know the term and they would never admit it, but they were self-medicating. And I looked, and like you said, the reason I thought adults just do coke is like, oh, adults just self-medicate. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what I found out in therapy, that I thought that was normal. Maybe not whatever drug, but self-medicating is how you deal with life. I thought that's what you did, because that's what they did. They never taught us how to actually deal with life. You know what I mean?
And it's such a big jump, though. You know what I mean? And I hate to just like keep going forward every 4 years. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I know we're gonna cover your whole lifespan today. That's not the goal.
No.
But my goal, at least today, was thinking.
Get some questions answered.
And where I'm gonna end it is at least where I want to know is how it got started. That's the
right.
good end.
Okay. Yeah.
Some Tarantino shit.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? So we know essentially the little triggers that happen throughout childhood and stuff. And we haven't even touched that. You know what I mean? We're just gonna gloss over it because we've all been through some shit.
Too many
Maybe
tangents.
We'll cover it on another day.
Yeah.
But because that is important too. I mean, let's all face it. I mean, even for me, some shit that I deal with now, not even drug related. I'm like, oh shit, that was some childhood shit.
Right,
you know
right.
So we know that's where it stems.
It's just a lead up.
The superficial me who wants to get famous and clicks and likes, you know what I'm saying? We need to get the
do it for the likes,
good stuff, you know. So when was the first time you stuck a finger in your asshole?
Wow, it was about 2 hours ago. You were showing me.
No, I'm joking. But no, for reals, what I want to do is like because I don't know, I've never been there. When do you, if you can recall, when was that leap? When was that leap from just the regular, ordinary, and I know no drugs are ordinary, right? But let's just keep it like coke and weed are ordinary.
Yeah, you have your baseline, maybe quote unquote gateway drugs. But
what was it that went there?
Which drug or what time?
Not even that. Fuck. Okay, we'll do that. The drug second.
Okay.
But first, because we both know now as adults, like emotionally, what the fuck was it? There had to have been something else.
Okay.
Right? Like swirling around your head. Because it is a combination of
that's
the
true.
two.
That's a good one.
It's a combination.
That's a good point.
Because there was something in your head at that moment, and there was a drug at that moment. But because we've all have been there, where sometimes I've been like, fuck it, and done some dumb shit, and then looking back, I'm like, why? But there was just a series of events that just led to that little like, bloom, and that was it, man.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I think I can kind of maybe not pinpoint but I can, where my head was at was, and you know, if I'm, like I said, part of my recovery is being super honest and just being, you know, because it's not embarrassing anymore. It's just, I mean, I just have this thing in my head and people hear like, oh, whatever. But this is where it was at. It was around, let's say 2012-ish, and two things happened. My dad got really sick, and I moved him in with me, and at the same time I was having just really a lot of issues with a girl I was kind of with, you know, off and on. And I thought, you know, maybe everything was going fine, but we ended up drifting apart, and it hit me a lot harder. But I think I was kind of bummed out, but I forced myself not to be bummed out. But then when my dad got super sick, I think like my mild level of just being bummed out because of the girl, and then my dad realizing that, oh my God, my dad is super sick. I think that was the moment where like I realized that stuff like that, you know, being, you know, relationship problems was so, I couldn't handle both, essentially. You know what I mean? And because, I mean, you know me, I'm a super emotional dude. Like, if I would have just boozed it, but I'm like, I need something stronger to deal with my dad right now. Not I know it sounds, but not deal with my dad, but like deal what's happening with my dad.
Yeah.
So around that time, when I knew shit's getting real with this man, that was about that. That's when I'm like, okay, I need morphine, son. You know what I mean, or whatever.
That's insane. Because I guess I never had that thought. I mean, both of my mom was sick and stuff like that, and I got to be there.
Mhm.
But I never went there, I suppose.
Right.
But then again, I think I went there later in hindsight. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, later on, I had some fucking drinking issues. I'll tell you what.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but, like, my poor wife. You know what I mean? But that's dealing with grief that you don't know how to deal with grief. I guess that's our own faults because who teaches you how to deal with that shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when you saw your grandparents die, I'm sure, or what have you,
Right.
your parents did that. Well, you did. So you were like, oh, shit, this is the way to go about it. I would assume.
Yeah, man, because think about it. Like, so 2013, my grandma passed, right?
So
April.
hold on. Your dad got sick 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Your grandma got sick about a year later.
Yeah, she was always kind of sick.
right.
So check this out. April of 2013, my grandma passes away. March of 2014, my dad passes away. So I didn't even be in a full year. So I'm dealing with 2 deaths. And like I said, dealing with my dad getting super sick, that's what kind of I like, quote unquote, my brain needed something just to numb, because booze was not numbing me. If anything, booze was making my emotions worse. I found that morphine will kind of dim the lights, so to speak, where I'm like, okay, I can deal with this man being sick. I can deal with my grandma on the verge of death, right? And yeah, I had to, because like, you know this, when a parent or anybody close gets sick, you're not just dealing with that person's illness. You're dealing with everybody in your family, or your friends, whoever else is close to that person. You're kind of dealing with their shit, and especially me, the role that I took, I was really dealing with everybody's shit. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I just needed something, like I said, dim the lights, turn the volume down, if you will. You know what I mean? Because it was just so wild.
And like someone has to take that role. You know what I mean? In the when someone's dying, which is the bullshit, and that's the fucked up about someone dying. It's not the person dying.
Yeah,
it's the bullshit that goes around it.
100%.
And unfortunately, the bullshit that goes around, those people don't understand that they're contributing to some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh my god,
you got your cousins and your tias who now want to solve their own personal issues that they've
Oh my
had with your
God.
mother and father, right? So they want to swoop in.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Last
like some
minute.
fucking Eagles and be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's fucked up because when they want to help you out, you start noticing like this is really about
Right.
you.
Oh, for sure. A lot of
You
it
know what I'm
is.
saying?
Yeah,
Like
a
what the
lot.
fuck? What kind of guilt you're holding in, and you're trying to talk to me. So it's hard for you to want to take advice from people when you're knowing like this motherfucker's full of shit. Maybe they have it in good intentions, right?
Of course.
But in the landscape, just imagine, you know what I mean? Your pops is dying, your grandma's dying. You got family coming in from who knows where. Family who, and this is the most important part, family who probably never fuck with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then they swoop in and they're like, hey, what's going on? So now somebody has to be the adult here.
Mhm.
So I assume that's where you took that mantle.
Yeah, and like I said, I can't even handle my own shit, son. You know what I mean? I can barely handle my own shit at that point. Like, so of course, like, you know, just trying to, essentially, you know, just, how do I say it? Manage my emotions enough where I can be that person, so, you know, be the adult. Because I mean, I'm not saying, oh, if I wouldn't have had the morphine, I wouldn't have had, you know, it just, I don't know if I would have been able to handle it in the way that I did. So people are like, oh, you know, you're handling this all very well. I'm like, because I have a little help. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm handling this all well.
So essentially, what I wanted to just get started here is just to give people an idea, right? It's just a weird, just general high school crazy path that we're all living in, and then you grow up a little bit, and this shit starts tumbling, kind of like where you are right now. You know what I mean? Or at that moment, I should say. So what was it though? Can you recall, or do you want to talk about it? That fucking moment where it was that extreme drug.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Let me kind of back it up. Like I said, that was where I was using the drug to get to the day. That's, like I said, that's the point where we're trying to get to, right? Like, that's the point where I was using the drug to get through the day. But it kind of started maybe a few years before. Because you remember when I was 18 and I got kidney stones. So, I mean, and it's just kind of, a comment on what the hell's happening in America with the opioid crisis. Like, this was 18. I was 18, so 2006 maybe.
Actually, let me cut in on that. Maybe a little bit younger, because I remember we might have been in
was
high
I
school.
17?
We're in high school because I remember we had to call the ambulance to our house. You
Okay,
remember that?
so I was like
And
17. Yeah.
I remember you told me
felt
that you had
bad.
kidney stones, and I was scared as fuck. So I went to go woke up my mom
Yeah.
right at 2 in the morning. I was like,
Oh,
"Hey, mom,
shit,
Joey's
yeah,
fucking dying in
yeah.
the room."
Yeah. Okay.
You remember that shit?
Yeah, man. Okay, so let's say 17, the old, whatever.
Don't lie about 1 year, man.
I know.
That's
So
where I draw the line.
about
This
17.
podcast.
So damn. So 2005 to maybe 2006. So okay. So I have kidney stones. Kidney stones fucking hurt, right? I mean, you need something for the pain. But the doctor. This is my. I'm 17. I don't know. I've never taken Vicodin. I've never taken anything stronger than Aleve as far as pain. Like prescription drugs. Obviously, I've taken other drugs, but when it came to prescription drugs, I was just like, oh man, those are like the devil, whatever. So anyway, doctor prescribes me check, and I remember the prescription because it was. I just remember. I remember everything like that. He prescribes me, I think, like 30 of the 5 milligram Percocets, a big ass bottle to some kid who just has kidney stones. Granted, like I said, they hurt, but if he would have just said take the ibuprofen and deal with it, I probably could have, right? So I take one, and I'm like, whoa, I'm like blasting off into space essentially because I didn't, the opioids like make you feel super good, and so like I said, to say all that, I started there, so I already had access to prescription drugs, right? And obviously morphine is not that big of a jump from Percocet, and then like extreme drugs, my body at that point, was already kind of. By the time I got to heroin, my body was already kind of needed it because like there was times where like if I didn't have Percocets or morphine, I would start feeling sick, withdrawals, right? So once you can't get your hands on you because you blow through prescriptions like nothing because you're not using them the way you're supposed to. So somebody, you always hear that morphine is just medical heroin, which it is. It's exactly what it is. It's the same shit. Somebody told me, you're paying this much for pills. Why don't you just buy heroin? It's half as cheap and, it lasts longer and you can buy whatever. So, yeah, I'd say around, we're in 2019. I'd say 2016-ish was the first time I smoked heroin. Just
So
because.
that was like the jump, like the smoke.
Yeah, smoke, yeah.
You weren't even like, let me take this fucking.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, I guess, the jump after that was injecting it with some girl I met in Phoenix maybe like a year later because I would just smoking it for like a whole year because I was smoking pills
so
before
do you
that.
just freebase that shit essentially?
Yeah, you're freebasing the heroin off of a little foil. I mean, people do it different ways, but
I guess that's the way to start, right? I mean, you don't start injecting, I would assume.
yeah.
No question.
Well, if I could have, I would have. I never did it myself. Like as not many, but every time I ever injected, or banged it as they call it. Every time I banged it, I never did it to myself. Not once.
And that's the fucked up part because I think about sometimes too, like some shit I've done where
Right.
people are like here and you're just like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, goddamn, you know what? I'm
That's all it
so
takes.
goddamn
Oh.
lucky.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that gauge in me, dude. I didn't, and luckily, and that's what interests me and scares me about talking to you, is I feel like we have the same personalities, same upbringing.
Think
all this
about
shit. And the fucked up part is I just wasn't in that situation that you were in that moment.
Right.
But I'm not by any means above that.
Right. I mean,
you've been there. You've seen us do the same shit.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's just the fucked up part is what people need to realize is sometimes it's just the luck of the fucking draw.
I'm sure at one point if I would have said, "Hey man, you want to try this girl gave me heroin, you want to try with me?" I mean, I'm pretty sure you'd have been like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's try it." You know what I'm saying?
And the fucked up part is because you said it. I'm like, well, Joey, won't.
Right? Dude, yeah.
Joey ain't gonna be no junkie.
Right? Yeah,
He ain't
dude.
gonna do that
And
to me.
that's what you think. But like I said, I think what really just kept me on the heroin was because I was already addicted to it. All those years of abusing the Percocets and abusing the Vicodins and the morphines, like they call it hooks. It already had its hooks. Is what's what chemically dependent. You get chemically dependent on this shit, and like it wasn't even like, oh, I'm smoking heroin and now I'm addicted. It was just like, okay, this is just give me the same feeling that morphine was. So
You have to be a little bit fucking scared though, right?
oh hell yeah. Oh,
Like I remember even the first time I did like fucking smoke weed or did
Yeah.
coke. Or
No,
did
no,
E,
no,
I
no.
was like that. It's that instant fear.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
No,
oh,
no, 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 no.
Fuck am I doing?
Oh.
But then that was probably like
Yeah.
offset by the.
Even the person who recommended to me that, hey man, you should try heroin. I'm like, what the get the fuck out of here, dude. Not knowing it's literally the same thing as morphine. It just it has that stigma, like, oh, heroin. People die from heroin. I mean, they do, but you know what I'm saying? Like, one, just even hold it in your hand, you know, you're going to go to jail kind of thing.
Like, I'm sure they broke this shit down for you guys, but like chemically, like, is there a difference? Like, and this is just stupid.
Slight. Well, no.
What is it? Just.
I mean, granted, the stuff we get here, it's stepped on by the cartel, so it's not pure heroin anymore, but it's made from the exact same shit, man. Exact same shit. Actually, you know what? When I checked into rehab, you know, and they piss test you and all that, they were like, oh, you have morphine in your system. I'm like, no, I don't. I have heroin in my system, stupid. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's the exact, actually, morphine is just a better grade of heroin because it's made in a lab and it's pure and it's not stepped on with all this shit that the cartel or, you know, whatever other drug dealers put in it.
So
you know what I'm
jokes
saying?
on us, that's the good shit. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm saying.
when I found that out, I'm like,
From the jump.
yo, exactly.
That's true because I guess I didn't because I remember dabbling in that shit. I don't know, dude. I don't know, and that's what scares me the most is I don't know why I didn't, because like I did the same shit. Fighting the pills. My mother was a medical assistant. There was just shit on deck. It was just like, but why didn't? You know what I mean? And that's what interests me more. You know what I mean? It's like there's a why to the shit. You know what I mean? And
but
we're gonna get to the bottom of this, Joey.
But it's like you said, some people are just predisposed to it. Like if you don't have, you know, our brains are all fucking complex. But if you don't have that little thing in you, where like it, like I said, the first time I took enough morphine to feel high and feel good, it set off a fucking light in me. They're like, yes, this is the best. And maybe like you did take, you know, you took a bunch of pills and you felt good for that instant, but that little thing in your head didn't go, yeah, let's keep this going. You know what I'm saying? I think that's it. Just
take me back, right? We're in this situation. You're wilding the fuck out. There had to have been a series of events that landed you there with that heroin, about to sniff that shit. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Do you think it was that day?
Do
you think it was like, because it's as stupid as it sounds, you have a history and years of bullshit, but it just takes one bad day, homie. One bad day, you're like, you know what? This bitch curved me on the DM. This is it.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It was
that's what is interesting to me. It was how did it get there?
It was in the summer, right? And you know me, I don't know if I should say where I work. Let's just say I have summers off, right? So summers I don't work for 2 months out of the year, and those are hard for me because that's not a paycheck for 2 months, right? So I'm scrounging by, and you know, and those months always suck because scrounging by for anybody sucks. So I'm already having a shitty summer. You know, I'm already just down in the dumps. So, you know, I don't have the money to spend on drugs really. I'm spending my rent money and shit on drugs. So I'm already having a shitty. On top of that, my supplier that's giving me like the good shit, the good morphine, says, you know what? I'm not selling it anymore. I'm like, now I'm stuck. Now I got to pay way more money. It's just not the same. So
you're just pilling it consistently in a sense at this point.
Yeah. So it's just me already wanting to be numb. So I need the heroin or the morphine, and then not having access to the morphine. I'm like, okay, what do people do now that are, you know, you always hear they jump to heroin. I'm like, why do they jump? Oh, it's cheaper and everybody has it. You know, not just one guy. Everybody has it and it's cheaper. I should have been doing this years ago. Honestly, that's what I told myself. I should have been doing this years ago.
Insane,
right?
Dog. What? The weird part is that, like, is what people don't understand, I guess, is I'm assuming, right, that a lot of people that hear this know Joey Rats. They don't know Joey Rats, right? It's almost like me. Like, I guess I can explain to you guys. Like, we have the same personality as me and this dude. So for you to hear that shit coming out of my mouth, it's fucking mind-boggling. Like, whoa. like the other day when we were talking about, like, you're like, I better be careful with this meth. This shit is strong.
Right.
I was like, what
It's
the
too
fuck?
good. Like,
Who thinks about this shit? Like, yeah, I'm gonna do this meth, but I'm gonna be careful about it. I swear to God. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
What the fuck?
exactly.
So that's where, well, in hindsight now it makes sense. You know what I mean?
It's-
We're
I
talking
mean-
it all out. It's just a snowball of shit. It snowballs, it snowballs, it snowballs, and there's just no one to just throw like a fucking little
Yeah.
monkey wrench in your shit to stop it, or did they?
Well,
And
but a lot of people around me, you know, let's be real, friends and family, they were kind of in the same, you know, situation or same mix or in the same world as that. So nobody was gonna be like, even if they did, I'd be like, well, you're doing that, so fuck you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's crazy as fuck.
yeah,
So there's no one to fall back on, so to speak. In
Right,
a sense,
right,
you know
right,
what
right.
I mean?
yeah, because and a lot of it is pride and guilt. Those are my two biggest things that I found out in therapy. Like for you guys, like I remember you and other homie would be like, hey man, watch what the Percocets. You guys would kind of like, you guys were worried about me, how much Percocets I was taking and all these prescription drugs I was taking. You guys were kind of like, yo, you guys would kind of have little comments here and there, like you might be taking too much, or you know that shit, blah blah blah, that shit can spiral out. And I'm like, man, whatever. So when I really finally did fall into all that shit that you guys were kind of warning me about, other people were warning me about, my pride was so big. Like I can't tell them anything because they were right. Like my pride wouldn't let me admit that you guys were right, kind of shit. Isn't that's fucked up
Yeah,
though?
some bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. It is
And
bullshit.
I remember that, man. I remember you going through some shit and you came over. Goddamn, hindsight is some bullshit.
Oh, it's the
But
worst.
you know what? That's life, dude. That's fucking life. You know what I mean? You hindsight, you think about this shit. Joey was over here, and I could sense it on you. But then again, what did I know? I mean, I'm not justifying it, but at the same time, like, I never imagined what your problem was at that time. So I was like, yo, this fool's wild. I was just like, Joey, sleep it off.
Yeah.
Bruh.
And-
Let's go to Liquor Dance and get some saladitos
Right.
and sleep the shit off on some tajin. You know what
Exactly.
I mean, that's what I assumed.
And
was
like you
gonna
said,
work.
I kind of have the same feeling sometimes too. I mean, not now because I know what people are not what they're going through, but I know what it's like not to just to stay quiet in that situation. Like you would have said, like, nah, he's all right. Like you didn't want to be not rude, but you don't want to intrude and be like, hey man, you're fucking up, kind of thing. You know what I mean? I don't want to
Well,
be
that's
that.
the
I don't want to
thing.
be that guy either.
As we fucked up and we created a relationship amongst ourselves, almost like we're rock stars and shit.
Oh yeah.
like if I'm doing heroin, for instance, you're doing coke, and let's say fucking our other friend was doing fucking ecstasy.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna. We have that righteousness in us.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
you know what? Who am I to?
Exactly.
And then who am I? But then again, I'm like, wait, we were all in this circle, so who are we? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
We fucked up and we created that relationship amongst ourselves. And I think a lot of friends do that shit, dude.
Oh,
even
yeah.
on borderline, not even, and we're talking about some bigger problems here, but even on little shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Boyfriend
different shit,
shit,
yeah.
girlfriend shit, drinking shit, work shit, relationship shit. Motherfuckers just see that shit, and you're like, you know what? Who am I?
Not
Let
my
me
place,
Just give
yeah.
my 2 cents, man. You know what I mean? But that's and the fucked up part is like for us, we don't differentiate those two problems.
Right.
Heroin problem, relation, same shit.
Oh, maybe it's worse for some people, honestly, because that's funny you bring that up. Like a lot of people that I know are going through traumatic stuff is so relatable of like the traumatic stuff that I had went through with my addiction. Like you can be like my essentially my relationship with drugs, meth and heroin is just as bad as being in a relationship in a toxic relationship because you can't leave and you feel trapped and you look for people to help but you don't want the help, and it's very, very similar. When you come out the other end and you talk to somebody who's been in a really toxic relationship for years, like me being in the my using for years, you're dealing with the same trauma, like the post trauma of it. You're like, whoa, like you're essentially recovering in almost the same way. You know what I mean?
But going back a little bit, I want to backtrack. So when was our train of thought here? Going back to that day, right? I don't know if you remember that day. I'm not going to ask you to remember like what the temperature was outside or what you were wearing, but I assume it was probably nothing good because I know how you dress.
True.
But what I'm assuming,
I was
what
wearing
wanna
cargo
know
shorts.
Is like, what was it like? Or if you remember, did you wake up that day and we're like, I'm on one? Did you wake up that day and we're like, I know you didn't wake up and you're like, today's the day I'm fucking smoking heroin. You know what I mean? Or maybe you did. I don't
sort
know.
of, actually. That's funny because
I'm like,
I-
never mind.
the day before, I ran out of morphine, right? So by morning, I was already feeling it, man. The withdrawals, I was feeling sick. I didn't want to do shit. I was already going through the withdrawals.
And if you can, like in the most relatable, shitty way, like what is a withdrawal?
The withdrawal is
Is it your bones
like-
hurt? We've been hungover,
oh yeah,
right?
okay, yeah. So
Meet us
imagine
halfway here.
imagine having a hangover and the flu at the same time, plus whatever mental, illness that you kind of struggle with, whether anxiety, depression, all of that. So hangover, flu, and whatever mental stuff you mess with, all turned up to 100, and there's no escaping it. Like you can, if you're cold, you put on a blanket, but then you start sweating. Literally no escape. There's no cure for it, other than the drug.
Is it a mental thing too? Is it all physical?
Dude.
You say?
Oh, dude, man, withdrawal is probably the mental side of it is way worse. Because I remember one time I got clean, and it took 3 days for the physical stuff to wear off, but it took like another 2 weeks for the mental stuff to start giving way. Mental is way, way harsher on any drug.
But when you say mental, like, well, okay, so I can relate to you on the physical part. Right? I've been hungover.
Yeah.
That shit's hurted. Like,
Yeah,
know
you're
what I'm saying?
barfing, all
But
that.
the mental part.
Mental
you know what
part.
I mean? Like, I've come off of shrooms. I guess it is the way I can explain it. When
That's-
you come off of shrooms,
right.
you start thinking this random shit, right? It's the best way I can explain it. If for those who've never done it, like you're just laying there, you start thinking about some stupid shit, like, oh fuck, I should have gave Joey that bag, that backpack when he said he wanted it, or he'd be like, oh, that one time my wife wanted mustard on the sandwich and I didn't put mustard, but I put mayo. Like, the dumbest shit, guys. The shit.
True.
Or you know what? Maybe that's our issue. The shit that you guys just ignore every day.
Yeah.
We dwell on that shit.
Oh, man.
We dwell in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So is that what's going on? So besides the physical and all this shit, are you sitting there thinking like, oh fuck, because I do that shit, like, oh, I was a dickhead to my mom, like, oh, and it adds on to it. You know what I mean? You're adding on to your own shit.
Sort of, like that stuff will pop in and out, but it's more of like, because the physical stuff sucks so much that your brain starts just coming up with wild ideas, like, well, just go rob a pharmacy, man. And then you start, no, don't rob a pharmacy, stupid. Then you start thinking like, man. Then you start. I mean, for me, I started crying like, man, what? Because when you're withdrawals, that's when you know you need to get clean, right? Because you don't get shitty. You don't want to be in that. So then you start like you said, you start thinking about, man, I should have never done this. Man, I should deal with my emotions better. So you start coming down on yourself hard, and that's where the mental shit gets hard. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of, like I said, whatever, you know what it is, and it's that corny shit people say, well, the problems are still gonna be there when you're on the drug, right? It's just you're on drugs now. Yes, that when you're withdrawing, that's when it all comes back, because you're in such a shitty position. You're like, uh-oh, rent is due. Uh-oh, this is, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, the mental part of it is all the problems that you've been numbing or putting off with the drug. Every single one of them, whether there's 2 or 50, it'll come crashing down, and that's when your mental shit starts breaking down, son.
So you woke up that day, you're out of your regular shit.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, like, what was it? Was the text? Was it you who proactively was like,
oh yeah,
let me do it?
Oh yeah,
This is the day.
Because I already knew who had it, and I already knew this person had been trying to sell it to me anyway, right? Excuse me. So it was one text. I'm like, hey man, I don't have money today, but tomorrow I get paid. And I told him, I it's like when you're asking somebody for money or something, you're like, oh man, I've been going through some shit, and like just sob story. They don't care, like whatever. So homie's like, yeah, I'll be there in half an hour. So, and like I told you last time, just getting off the phone, my withdrawal symptoms started subsiding, dude. You know what I'm saying?
That's insane.
Like I already felt better. I'm like, oh, he'll be there in 30 minutes, and it was like 35 minutes, and then I'm like, oh my god, where is it? So yeah, it was all it took was one text, and he showed up, and I'm like, cool. And then I Googled how to do heroin. I'm not joking. That part's absolutely true.
You Google how to do
No,
heroin.
not how to. I said, can you smoke heroin? Actually, that was the actual Google.
That was the first part, right? You didn't want to inject it or what?
Nah, I still I don't. Nah, I never. I said every time I banged it, I never did it myself. Somebody else always did it for me.
All right. But to Google, like, yo, how to do heroin, feds have to be on that. Maybe not. You know what I'm saying?
I
There's
don't
probably
think
a
so.
lot of people who have to Google that. I'm sure.
Yeah, and I can, people. I mean, people like Joe Rogan probably Google it. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah, true. I guess. I mean, if Joe Rogan Googles it,
yeah,
then it's cool.
yeah. No, I just like I said, I thought one, I didn't want to be sick, and two, when you're in the throes of addiction, when you just my personality, maybe your personality, I can justify anything, dude. I can justify anything. Well, as bad or as shitty as it is, I can justify. I'm doing this because of this, or I'm doing this because of that. I'm doing it because you did this to me, or whatever. I can justify it. Like, okay, heroin's not that bad. I'm only smoking it right now. At least I'm not banging it.
And that's the fucked up part, because I think that too, right? So you're like, oh, you're not injecting it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, how fucked up is that we differentiate
Right.
certain drug abuse
Yep.
to that type of extent? Like, oh, because you're like, oh, you do heroin, you sniff it, cool. You inject it, oh, you're a junkie,
Yep.
dude. You're
Yep.
tripping.
That's what I told myself.
There technically isn't any difference in that chemical compound.
Yeah, and even more so, I was a functioning addict for years.
No, that's the crazy part, right? So let's all get down to this too. Like, you think of certain person who's doing a certain type of drug, whatever it is, whether it's coke, whether it's weed or whatever. There's people that function on it and function even better than you even imagined.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I I'm not gonna say I won awards, in my addiction years, but I won some fucking awards. Huh? Yeah.
That's why Lil Wayne doesn't get off that
no.
drink, man. Did you hear
Think
that
about it.
interview where he was like,
No.
yo, I drank that shit. I made like a platinum album, man.
I mean-
that sold the most records ever. He's like, why am I gonna stop doing
I
this shit?
mean, like I said, functioning addict, and I was, you know me. I struggle with my anxiety. I struggle with just doing all kinds of normal everyday shit. That stuff turned my brain off. Same with the meth. The meth, if anything, helped me be more sociable. Helped me, interact. Helped me be outgoing.
That's crazy.
So in my head, I thought, it's making me better at everything, social, relationship, work, family. Like, I'm a better person on these drugs. You know what I'm saying?
And did anyone notice? Think?
Here and there, like family, because like I said, they know addiction. Either they have struggled with it themselves, or they know people, or they just more that they just know enough people. And people in my own family, we see it in each other. Like, they knew, but like everybody, they didn't know how bad it had gotten. You know what I'm saying? They knew something was wrong. Even people at work, man, they're like, yeah, we knew something was up because you stopped doing this or you wouldn't do this. And in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I would have thought I was on something too. You know what I mean? People notice, but they don't know how deep it runs. You know what I'm saying?
Or you just notice, or you're just like, oh, this is a weird ass motherfucker. Man,
Yeah.
Joey being weird again.
A lot of them thought I was just being emo, like how I always am. Like, I'm very emotional, so they thought, this is a particularly bad case of him being, in his feelings or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like,
That's
oh,
kind of
shit,
a lot of them.
Joey's on one.
A lot of them chalked
He
it up
was
to.
listening to fucking
Yeah, Paramore.
Taking Back. I couldn't think of anything. You beat me to it, man. But yeah, that's some crazy shit, man. But you're there, you're sitting there, or not even that. You're about to smoke it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's going through your head? You're sitting there, but let's say you Googled how to smoke it, right? I'm assuming you're freebasing this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to, right?
Yeah, off of foil.
Yeah.
Check that. I had seen people do it. I was just like, I ain't ready to fuck with that yet. You know what I'm saying? Obviously. So I knew what it looked like. I pretty much knew how to do it. Even if I hadn't Googled it, I probably knew how to do it anyway. So I'm standing. I'm like, I got this. I didn't really know how much, so I just got a little bit, and I did it. And the first time, obviously, I fucked it up. Like once I got good at it, quote unquote. Like, oh man, that first time I wasted so much heroin, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
It's horrible.
I'm like, damn, what a rookie. What a rookie ass mistakes and shit.
Oh man.
But once I got that hit, that real good hit, that first, I'm like, oh, and this sounds fucked up, but this is what your brain does. Like, oh, we're back to normal.
So you're just sitting there.
Not even high.
Assuming you fall ill.
Not even high.
A straw.
Straw.
I'm assuming you're wearing shorts and a wife beater.
I'm close. I was wearing cargo shorts.
Well, don't ruin this for me.
Oh,
right?
okay.
All right.
And a wife beater. You're right.
You're wearing a wife beater and
Yeah.
some shorts. Ideally, they're cut off by scissors.
They actually were.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Those
And
particular. I still have those.
an instant thought, like feeling, like does it feel like you're doing coke? Does it feel like you're numb? Does it feel like you're on ecstasy? They feel like you're coming down that roll from shrooms. Like, well, what is it?
So initially, like I said, the first hit, I didn't feel anything because all that first hit did was take away the withdrawal symptoms. So I felt normal. Like kind of, I don't want to say where I'm at now, but like not
That's
high.
almost fucking worse.
Oh,
That's
looking
almost fucking worse.
telling me, dude. Looking back, it is worse. And anybody going through that shit, it is way worse. You know what I'm saying? So at the first hit that I felt it, back to normal, quote unquote. The second and third hit, that's when I feel like, ooh, now I'm high. Let's take a few. So I fucking got super high, and I felt, like I said, like if you ever tried any drug, the initial feeling is very euphoric, right? It's that euphoria, like, ooh, I feel good, I feel happy. You get a smile on your face, like your body just feels relaxed, or whatever euphoric feeling that you get. Even cracking your back, that kind of feeling, like, ooh, it feels good. Like, you know what I mean?
That shit does feel good.
Yeah,
I do it every day.
Yeah, so that feeling just sustained, and then obviously I nodded out and passed the fuck out. But you know, yeah, you feel just once I got to enough of the dose where I can feel a high, then you just feel like your body's some butter and your bread's that tortilla, son. You know what I mean?
God damn. And you know what? I think that might be a good stopping point for this particular one.
Yeah.
We're
Tortilla?
about 50 minutes right now. I think a buttery tortilla is a good way to end this one.
Tight.
And what I wanted to do is cover just like just the basis, right? I mean, there's a whole lot more to it.
Yeah.
Right. I guess we can get that into a later time when HBO signs us to a contract.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, we're just gonna go, just day by day, trigger by trigger. And let's figure it out. But
yeah, man,
it's really interesting because I have a lot of questions. And I think a lot of people have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And even more importantly, I think you and me are the type of friends to other people that are very accessible.
Oh yeah, especially now. Like, I know sometimes I even in my own head, like I might come off as like, Joey, shut the fuck up about your recovery already. But I'm like, yo, like I know a lot about it. That's like one thing I'm an expert on now, kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's another thing. Like, I'm glad that you had these. I'm glad anybody has a question. When people are kind of hesitant to ask, I'm like, no, anything. If you think it's a stupid question, it's probably not, because I kind of want to talk about it. It's a big part of my recovery, actually. You know what I mean? It's
so
talking
the next
about
part is what I want to cover. I guess it's just for me. We might not even do that tonight. Maybe even tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Got all day, whatever. But my point is the selfishness in me, right? Where I was like, well, let's say I didn't leave to Virginia Beach. Let's say I stuck around a little bit, and maybe you were around people who weren't doing that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People who cared. Would that have changed anything? But then I don't know, because even then when I was back here, my mom was sick and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We had all grown our own ass lives.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So would you have cared? I mean, I still hold you guys' like opinions pretty up there, regardless of what the fuck we're all going through in life. And maybe
same
we're
here.
not the bestest friends. I'll be like, all right, well, fuck. There's a reason we go back to the same 3 core people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, same.
So it's insane to me. So maybe on the next one, maybe we can cover a little bit about your surroundings. You know what I mean? Not even like about why it was your fault, but why maybe other people failed you, or maybe why I even failed you, man. Maybe I did. And then you could say that to me. It's not going to hurt my feelings, but you know what I mean? Like, let's be real. You know what I mean? Right. And I think about that shit sometimes. Like I was telling you the other day, I wasn't going to sleep thinking about some dumb shit. Like, did I close the door and the fucking window?
Yeah,
you know, like dumb shit.
I didn't say bless you when that married lady sneezed.
I dwell. So we'll cover that shit later. But even for right now, I think this was a good start. What do you think, Joey? I think
it was good. It was good. And like I said, it was. You kind of kept me reined in, because I was going off on tangents. It was good. It was good. It was cathartic almost.
But more importantly, it's just 2 friends shooting the shit. And the reason I think it's kind of cool is I think Joey has a self-esteem, even amongst my sister, my brother, and all my friends. They really love him, and even more importantly, and I don't want to sound like I'm upping myself, but I think a lot of people value my opinion in my family too. So I think it's cool to like for us to like shoot the shit, and then like for us to figure out, or more importantly, my little cousins to figure out like, oh shit, these motherfuckers who we're looking up to were on some shit, not in a glorifying way.
No,
but
no,
like,
no,
dog, trust me.
Just so you kind of know that we know what the fuck we're talking about when we, it might sound like a lecture, it might just sound like some old man shit. But it's just we know what we're talking about, sort of. You know what I'm saying?
But more importantly, to end this right here, just how it was Joey, it could have been me, man. It could have been you. I'm telling you, there's no difference. There's no difference to me and Joe. We have the same blood. We have the same skin type. I think mine's more moisturized. But at the end of the day, it's just, it could be any one of us, man. That's some bullshit. So
thanks, man. Thanks for letting me do this.
All right. Well, hopefully anyone listened. If not, fuck y'all. But either way, good talk. Thank y'all. Have a good night.